Addison.
These things have
been into the education sector.
Yes.
I'm doing a sector by sector analysis.
Yes. So move on to this issue of unemployment. We saw the figures.
Before you go to unemployment, let me just put it on record that the minority is not present in Parliament. We are showing that on the screen right now. For those on radio, we are not seeing any member of Parliament on the minority side in the chamber now. And we understand they are registering some sort of a protest. We'll show you the chamber. Yes, that you have it. The minority MPs are not in the chamber. We do not know exactly why, but we will get that information in minutes. My colleague and our chief parliamentary correspondent, Komla Kluche, is joining us on Zoom for a quick conversation on this matter. Komla, so we're seeing the minority MPs are not in the chamber. What are you picking? So we're seeing the minority MPs are not in the chamber. What are you picking? Unfortunately, there's a little connection problem to Komla Kluche there. We would rectify that connection with Komla and give you some updates. So, but that's what we're confirming now. The minority MPs are not present in the chamber. We want to get the exact reason why. Komla Kluche is a chief parliamentary correspondent. Komla, what are you picking? Why the minority MP is not in the chamber?
So the indication I get from my sources is that there are a number of issues that have raised concerns with leadership of the House, both the majority and the minority. And quickly, two of them want to know, one, the issue about His Excellency the President not signing the private members' bill is one of the issues that they have raised issues with, that they have asked the Speaker to draw his attention to it, and that they would want some answers to this. And they think that they need some commitment from His Excellency the President on this matter. The second one has to do with the issue about the governor of the Bank of Ghana. You recall the protest that the minority had, the demonstration a couple of months ago, where they asked for the head of the central bank, Dr. Ernest Addison. What we understand is how angered the minority are over the description of them, the minority side, as hooligans by the governor of the Bank of Ghana. That is what is making them to do the protest now. And I've just seen a tweet by the member of parliament for the Negro program constituency, Sam George, who says the minority caucus is spiritually present in the chamber for the state of the nation, for the hashtag State of the Nation 24. So it's a reason that why we are seeing in those seats, we get the indication as of now, they are locked up in the Speaker's lobby, and these issues are being addressed. As to how they are being addressed, we are unaware. But it's a concern that a minority has raised through the Speaker to be addressed by His Excellency the President. Is the reason why you do not see them. As to whether they will not be in the chamber when the President walks in, we don't know if they're going to escalate it to that point. But the empty seat now is a protest that indicates that, one, they are actually averse to the fact that the President is not signing the private members' bill that comes from the legislature, and also the issue about the President still allowing Dr. Ernest Addison, the central bank boss, to stay in office and describing them, the minority side, as hooligans. This is the reason why you do not see the minority MPs in the chamber as of yet. At least we've had about 5 minority MPs who have confirmed this to us. And also, if the tweet of Sam George is anything to go by, it tells you that it is the protest that they are doing.
They in some sort of a meeting as a chamber, or you spotted them outside of the chamber?
I cannot see them around the chamber. The talk was that they're still within the walls of the legislature, but not in the chamber. And so they possibly could be officers observing. They have monitors in their offices that shows on the TV whatever goes on in the chamber. So they could be in their offices, but within the perimeter of the chamber, they are not here. Now, what it is that His Excellency the President has been here for the past 30 to 40 minutes or so. And I mean, it's quite unusual that as of now, he's been held at the Speaker's lobby and he's not walked in. Normally, when he comes, he's ushered into the Speaker's lobby, both the majority leader, the minority leader, the Speaker himself, together also with the Chief Justice and the security chiefs. They usher him into the chamber, but it does appear now that he's been held for far too long. If this thing that the minority side is doing is anything to go by, we can only read that it appears to be the only reason the president is being held up as we speak now. But we do not see the minority side on their seats over there in the legislature.
Fantastic, and probably that clearly, Komla, you're spot on. Might explain why the president has still not been ushered into the chamber. But at least based on where you are now, an indication that the majority, normally when this happens, you'd have the leadership on both sides also intervening. Is Afenyo marking on the floor? Is he in the chamber?
No, Akufo Addo is not in. Like I did say, normally if the president comes in, they will all be at the Speaker's lobby welcoming His Excellency the President. And so he is at now whether they are trying to trash out the issue. You don't know the whereabouts of the minority leader himself. I don't know whether he's also inside because he would deal with his I mean, both. You will recall that it was in the minority leader that led the protest against the bill boss. If you would recall, it was the one that led that. So when the BOG boss did not even come in personally to receive the petition and also describe them as hooligans, it was something that angered him so much.
Apologies, we lost Komla Kluche there. He is our chief parliamentary correspondent giving us updates on this. At least now we have confirmation as to what may be the reason, and it also explains why the president is not yet in the chamber. He's been, in fact, for the past 40 minutes or so, he arrived and was ushered in. But we understand that there's a crucial meeting ongoing. My colleague Komla Kluche is keeping an eye on that as well. We're live on 3FM 92.7. So that is what is happening in Parliament. The minority in Parliament is not present in the chamber. And we understand this is a protest action. But we do know that the flag bearer of the NDC, John Dramani Mahama, is in Parliament, is in the public gallery, also there to hear what President Akufo Addo will say about the state of the nation. Dr. Sasante, you on the point about unemployment, because that was one of the areas that Felix talked about. We have seen the rise and what we have seen over the period. And I'm talking about the specific interventions that have been put in place to address this, whether this has been potent enough to address this national security threat that we're faced with.
Oh, it has not been. Because if you listen carefully to the statement by the National Security Minister, it gives you a fair idea that we are still in a difficult situation. Simply because the policies we are put in or the interventions are not working. And we pretend as if they are working. You mentioned the issue of, people who have not been paid on 1D, 1F programs and planting for food and job programs and the rest of them. These are some of the things that at this point in time in our history, we don't need to talk about them. Now people work and you refuse to pay them. It's a disincentive to work, right? And the main problem is that we rush into policies and programs where we don't do the mathematics of it initially well. And two, as we roll out the programs, we don't also examine the program as they move on. So at the end of the day, we are not able to put our finger on the issue and say that we've got it, simply because our evaluation either do not come or they are poorly done. And that is why we are seeing programs like this. I listened to Kennedy Japan. He said that, look, the 1D, 1F program you were talking about, he has traveled the 275 constituencies. He can't see much. This is a stalwart within the MPP saying that. I'm not the one saying it. All right. It gives you an idea that all is not well. But you see, governance, what makes governance better is that you should have honest admission that there is something I'm not doing right. That please give me opportunity, I'll right the wrongs. And that is what is not forthcoming from this government. That all the time they want to, harp on the very things that they've done, that they have achieved results and all that, fine. But do well to also talk about the weaknesses and then your effort to deal with them. So tied to what? Policy failures and all that. These are some of the problems that are confronting this area. We have not, as a state, taken the trouble that we want to deal with unemployment. That is what I also see, because there are a lot of programs that we can, bring on board to deal with this situation. But all the time, it's more of a talk shop. But the real issues keep on compounding year in, year out. I listened to Dr. Baumia, where he talked about the fact that this government has really employed a lot of people. You saw the figure he mentioned. So my understanding is that if you're talking about unemployment, given the figure he brought out, then unemployment is becoming less of a problem. Sometimes I'm worried about some of these things because when we want to play politics with it, the effect will be there for everybody to see. Because if your people are not employed, they will be on the street. And that is the real acid test that you will see. So much as I want to believe that, yes, you can also mention some of the good things that you have done, we should do well to also talk about the fact that this area, let us accept blame, that we have not done much, and for which reason we want to improve our lot. Once you begin on that trajectory, you begin to have all manner of support, so that, because remember, no government is put in place with the view that the government is going to be an evil one, is going to undermine the fortunes of people. No. But your deeds and all that will put you into a certain category where people can give you certain names. And all government, when they proceed with what? The idea that we want to help our people. But when the going gets tough, you realize that they fumble, they are not able to be bold about their policies and then defend them and then inject the right energies into the system for it to work. It is a problem, and I don't know how we'll be able to deal with it.
It's a problem indeed, and that's where talk about solutions. Palgrave, you see, in the end, the Ghana Statistical Service data at least could be the most verifiable in terms of addressing the prevalence or the impact of some of these issues that we're talking about. Unemployment. What has been the specific intervention or the policies to address this over the period by this government?
Alfred, over the period, the government of President Akufo Addo has been looking at creating an avenue where young people become a lot more entrepreneurial. And so you'll recall the heavy investments that we have made in the NEIP and the Ghana Enterprise Agencies and the YEA and the NYA and all of the youth-centered agencies. And I mean, it's right for us to state that we have created 2.1 million jobs, and it's significant enough. I mean, because I can appreciate
within which sector specifically?
Oh, it's a cut across. It's a cut across the various sectors. But it's important that as we state the number of jobs that have been created, we also state the fact that the country has
2.1 million. Is it permanent jobs created?
Very permanent jobs. Yes, permanent jobs.
And does this include the Nation Builders Corps? Because the last time I checked, with the breakdown of statistics, had some NAPCO 100,000 in there.
There are some of the NAPCO employees who you are aware that have been rolled into permanent structures that
How
have
many
been
of them?
put in place. I don't have the data readily, but it's part of the 2.1 million jobs that have been created. I can appreciate the growing numbers of young people who do not have permanent jobs, who fall into the bracket of the unemployed people within the country. I can appreciate that, but it doesn't take away the fact that our government has taken keen interest in addressing this issue a lot more significantly in terms of the focus that we put on it. And it's important to state that the level of investment that we have made in terms of young people being entrepreneurial, I mean, because you see, if you want to have a country that would grow, that would be self-sufficient, if you want to have young people who would be self-sufficient, it's important that you orient their mind and their ideologies around becoming entrepreneurial, which is why our government has sought to build that entrepreneurial agenda amongst young people, creating 1 million entrepreneurs within the shortest possible time, where many of them would be able to present their own unique ideologies and their own unique vision, and then the government will support them with some seed capital that is put in place. And so, yes, I can appreciate all of that. And I hear the one district, one factory issue as well. We've created this industrialized economy, because you see,
hold on a bit for me. There's been a development, respectfully, and don't lose your thought. Now, the minority has now arrived or come into the chamber. We see a number of them. In fact, James Klucha-Veggie was just captured on the screen. But now we have the Attorney General Godfrey Yeboah-Dame in the conversation with the newly appointed Finance Minister. We see John Mahama is stepping out of the chamber. The public gallery. We would follow up shortly whether he is going to come back. But the Education Minister, Dr. Yose Aduchim, as well, is in a conversation with the Attorney General Godfrey Yeboah-Dame. The former Majority Leader, Oseche Mensah Bonsu, is also captured in a conversation. So we're monitoring how things play out. My colleague Komla Koche is joining me back on the telephone. Komla, we see the minority MPs trickling in one after the other. What's the development? Hello, Komla?
I can hear you, Alfred.
Yes, I can hear you.
Me, Alfred?
I can hear you clearly.
Okay, so what we get is that there were about 3 issues. We mentioned 2 already. We have to deal with the continuous stay of the boss of the central bank in office, and also the issue about the signing of the private members bill. We are told also now that one of the issues that it raised was the release of the District Assembly Common Funds, which has been in a year for a while now. It was one of the things that they were holding on to. So 3 issues which they were dealing with: the refusal of the president to assent to the private members bill, the continuous stay of the BOD boss in office, and also the release of the District Assembly's Common Fund. And some agreement of the sort is reached. That has not been communicated, but I think some assurance of the sort has been given by the president. I realized at the point that the chief of staff left the chamber and went to the speaker's office. If that's anything to go by, we can only conclude that it primarily has to do with that, because it's one thing that both sides of the house have really raised. And I mean, if you understand the politics that goes on here, sometimes the majority intentionally would allow the minority to do the speaking, because they know if they do it, it carries a lot more weight and all that. So these are the issues that has made them to, for want of a better word, see the process of the thought. So to speak, holding the president, quote and unquote, to ransom on this one. But the good thing is that they are back to the chamber now, and then it will be happening.
I see, but we still don't have the front bench of the minority. I'm talking about the minority leader, Dr. Kesi Akufo, and the deputy and the whips.
So the information, Alfred, I'm picking some indications that the flag bearer of the NDC, John Mahama, has moved out of the chamber, joined by Dr. Kesi Akufo, going to meet the minority MPs on this matter now. It's it's quite a fluid one. I think it has to do with the welfare matters of the MPs, and the welfare includes the